Belinda McKenzie, welcome to AMASH. How wonderful to speak to you on camera at last. Belinda, you've done such fantastic work with so many, but I really want to focus on Lloyd at the moment because it was a pivotal time when you contacted him, and just really interested to know what was it about the Starchild Skull that caught your attention?
Well, I've been watching in the wings, so to speak, like I believe many hundreds of thousands, possibly millions around the world, this unfolding of this project on the internet.
Right.
And chiefly reported on the David Icke website, as you would imagine it would be, and thought that everything was going absolutely fine, and there was this hiccup with the Bold lab.
Yes, that first genetic testing.
But then this desperate call came out from Lloyd in July 2002 that he was running out of funds and couldn't carry on, and it reached quite a bad moment in the project.
Yes,
So, and so I thought, well, you know, now he's put this call out in July 2002, the millions around the world who are fascinated by this, and some of them must have more than a bob or two to expend on advancing the frontiers of knowledge, basically.
Yes.
Would be willing to chip in, so I could, you know, stay quiet and watch that unfold. So, and a few more weeks and months went by, and then another rather plaintive call came out in October 2002 that it hadn't, the first call hadn't brought in any results, and if nothing came through this time, this is the last call, and by Christmas the project would have to wrap up.
Yeah.
So at that point I emailed him.
Brilliant.
And I couldn't let this project go down. I mean, this is the most important project of the 21st century, for me anyway.
Well, I think so. I can't think of anything.
Now I know there's this sort of the macro scientific take on all of this, extraterrestrial contact, you know, with the UFOs whizzing around and SETI listening forever into the deep galaxies and not picking up a squeak from out there. And then this is the micro, you know, very often in small things the greatest breakthroughs happen. And this little skull, picked up by somebody in the 1930s, kept all her life lovingly, you know, coated in shellac, put in a box in her attic. And then when she's reaching the end of her life, she feels a responsibility to do something with it, passes it on to people who are interested in, you know, anomalous bio relics, if you like. And then eventually it lands on Lloyd's desk. This was just totally fascinating, because to me this is the key.
Yes.
You know? And this is why this project is so important, because in a very understated, very modest, very sort of beneath the radar sort of way, it opens up the Pandora's box of
I think so.
the whole of what's out there in the universe that we are just not looking at, and which has obviously a great interest in us. We have great need to be connected with all of them. If you look up, we can't see many stars tonight, but you know, they're all up there. There's probably life, teeming life all over the universe, and we are enclosed in our little box, and I say it's a box with meaning, on this planet with, you know, a box around our brains, not looking up, not asking questions, not looking beyond, not asking where we came from. What other forms of life are here with us? And here's the remains of a form of life which is seriously interesting, seriously alternative, and needs investigation. And you know, when I operate from the intuitive level, so I think the intuition is rather like the scout in a sort of military operation, goes out ahead and sort of
that's a really good way to think
plots
about
out where the, you know, the other side are coming from and where things are at. Then comes back, reports back to the big generals, and then the real intelligence goes into operation. Now, the scout having come back and reported there's something out there, the intelligence, which is the scientific community, should be going to work on this. So why aren't they? Well, they're not, because
change paradigms forever, won't it?
You know, we're stuck in a groove here, we're stuck in a box, you know, what will you call it? So it has to be the labours of one dedicated man who I completely admire for his dedication of it. For so many years and through so many setbacks and through so much, you know, quite strong hostility and ridicule that he's received. He's weathered all of that, he's kept his nose to the grindstone, he's focused, and he certainly won't, you know, look at anything which might distract him, because he's got to keep on and on and on. And that is the quality that Lloyd has.
And we're almost nearly there, aren't we? I mean, I feel that
very, very near.
This year, my gosh, if the funding comes through, it could be.
Every time I hear Lloyd, there's something new, but this year there's something seriously new come up. And I know that it's nearly tipping points.
I think it's really
Very
exciting
now.
Well, especially with the work that AMASH does. I mean, we speak to experiencers all the time, and serious researchers doing extraordinary work like Lloyd, and your great activism is fantastic, and it's part of the evidence. I always cite it as evidence, and you've got to be willing to at least look at it and not rely on Wikipedia.
That's right. You see, what are human beings if we're not curious and want to know more? I was always a curious child, and I could never accept that we were just cousins of the apes. How could we in a few 100,000 years develop all these faculties and the art, the music, the science, as it was.
Yes, as it was.
And all the things that human beings are intimately do, creativity. We saw it at the Olympics this summer.
Yes.
Huge creativity.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, I mean, there's certainly a huge urge to be creative as human beings. And I think this is matched by our curiosity, except it is not encouraged by philosophy.
No, that's not.
And I hope that this project and the huge interest it's generated around the world is going to reverse that.
Yes.
Have people really looking, because the Starchild Skull is not the only one, as Lloyd mentioned, the cone heads. And
yes, we did mention the
knocking around in
the
museums in
yes.
Mexico and Peru and other places.
Yes.
And being dug up out of the ground in Africa and China and places like that. We've just begun, but if we can get the Starchild through and onto the mainstream radar.
Come so far now. So far.
Yeah.
And it really does feel like we're just on the edge of the final part, because we're just about there.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about the Starchild, or your feelings when it does come through, what you think that might mean for humanity?
Well, it's a certain sort of satisfaction that I had a sort of personal role to play in it, but really to me the whole thing is going to change. My role, even Lloyd's role, will be insignificant, because the whole thing will bowl along by its own momentum after that.
Yes. We'll finally know the truth.
We will know.
We've got relies.
That's right. Then it's to get to know them.
Yes.
And to ask them, well, look, we've been through this path before. We've got a few problems here on planet Earth. What did you do? What do you suggest? We're not going to necessarily take your advice, but maybe you could perhaps tell us how you cope with the same situation.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
What's the use of being a family, a galactic family, if you're not with your relatives?
Well, that's lovely. Well, I can't wait. We're going to have Lloyd back in for some closing thoughts and comments, and thanks, Belinda.